In the past, I've lost a lot of friends in my life. I've had close friends, deep friends, people who I really cared about and wanted the best for, and who wanted the best for me. And even though sometimes things were flawed, I cared for these people. And I also, unfortunately, cared too hard sometimes, or at least through my actions, it seemed that way. Sometimes I cared so hard that I would end up putting my own needs over theirs. Sometimes I would disregard their needs because I thought I knew better. I thought that the things that I would say and all the things that I would feel would trump the negative parts of whatever I was doing. I thought that whatever method I used to make my friendship better with people, it was the right one in one way or another, because it would lead to something bigger. Now, I don't know very much in my life. I don't know much. I'm a young man. My brain's still growing. I still have brain pieces that need to be put into place. But sometimes your judgment, all of that stuff, your pride, your ego, the things that grow more and more as you gain more and more knowledge, they overcome all the reasoning you've ever gained throughout your small amount of time in the world. And the feeling of those consequences, when you hurt someone that you care about, friend, family, mainly friend today, we'll keep it, the feeling is so unbelievably painful. Like a knife that cuts through your heart because you did the same to that person. And it feels like just payment. It feels like you're being punished in a way that's appropriate. Not really knowing what to do about it. Just knowing that you deserve to feel pain. All of it coming from a place of care. These actions that you took to unfortunately hurt your friend or tell him or her something that was, in your mind good, but in their mind bad. It came from a place of care. You wanted to help them out. In your good faith and good nature, you had noble intentions. But through a flawed brain, a mind that was incomplete, a tactic that wasn't fully thought out, a method that was flawed in itself, you put something harmful into the world. And unfortunately, it ran right through a friendship that was dear to you. Now, we don't know, I don't know, at least, if this was something you've been through or if this is something that anyone has ever been through in their life in the same way I have. But I've lost friends multiple times due to my actions. I have a past full of darkness, dark moments, things in my life that I did, things that were done to me that constructed the man that is here today, but also constructing the young kid that was present in my lowest moments and any moment that is low with that, whether it's in the past or the present or in the future. Things were always confusing for me in my life because I never knew what any of the feelings, thoughts, or actions that I had meant. All the way back to my diaper days, until my child days, until my teenage days, until my high school days, until now. It took a very long time to understand what any of this meant, to find faith in something. Something that told me that all the mistakes that I make and all the mistakes that are made by others that I care about have meaning. They have purpose. And sometimes it's hard to forgive yourself without understanding that. Whether that forgiveness comes from yourself or from others, forgiveness can be hard to come by when you can't see the light in a situation. And if you're trying to be a good person, let's say specifically for your friends, and trying to work out a problem that you believe to be worthy of time being taken, and that person doesn't react well to what you do, so much so that they don't forgive you for a mistake made, or that you don't forgive yourself for a mistake made, it gets hard to recover from that. And if it's hard to recover, it's easy to stay stuck. Staying stuck in that same constant feeling of resentment, whether it's towards yourself or towards them, or whether they have it toward themselves or towards you. So the point that I'm trying to make here with all this is to understand this friendship dynamic, because that's what this is about. That's what this episode is about today. Friendship. And not necessarily the easy parts of friendship, but the tough parts. The parts that are ugly and thick and gross and muddied in their nature because they're low moments. They're low moments in a relationship that we think very highly of. And all that, when a low moment comes up, it feels like we've fallen off a cliff. It feels like we fell off the Eiffel Tower onto the ground below, and we don't know how to get up sometimes. Pain is deep when it strikes true with those who we care about. Because those people that we care about are more true in our hearts than anything. If that sort of feeling that we have with a friend, those moments where we argue or disagree, start to take precedent over the moments that are good, then all of a sudden, every bit of pain that we hold becomes so much deeper because the love that we share with a person is being overshadowed by it. Now, in my life, I've had moments with friends where I desperately wanted to voice my opinion. I wanted to tell them straight up how I felt, whether it was for them or for me. I wanted to share something. I wanted to communicate an idea to them, but I couldn't do that for whatever reason. I couldn't do that. And so I felt trapped, powerless to voice my opinion on a matter. Let's say my friend wasn't responsive to my emotional needs. Let's say I never felt like I could open up to that person. I would hold that in constantly, keep it locked in a safe box, throw it away, and damage whatever was inside because I just hucked that thing at a wall, angry that I couldn't get it open. I was mad. And that built up this resentment with both myself and that person. And I think when you do that, when you constantly bottle things up, the explosion is filling up that surface area. That area within the bottle. Surface area might not be the right word. Whatever. That area inside that bottle is fuming with this ferocity, this resentment, this hatred that needs to be released through some sort of communication, some interpersonal skill, some sort of way of setting a boundary, both to yourself and to that person, that tells that friend, I need you to hear me out. I don't want this to turn ugly. I care about you, but I need to negotiate something with you. I feel offended by what has happened in my friendship. And if I keep feeling this way, I'm worried that I'm going to offend you. I'm worried that my vendetta that is building up and festering within my heart is going to start to form a hole that I must fill with anger and resentment. And I don't know if that's going to stay inside of me the whole time or if it's going to blow up from the outside, spew like fire out of my mouth. We don't want our friendships to end, ever. We don't ever want our friendships to end. We want friendships to end when they don't go well, when they don't seem like friendships in the way we need them to be. But we don't want good friendships to end. We want to stay forever with the people that really make our lives worth living. Part of that whole thing. We want the people in our life to make us feel like life is better when we're around them. We want to have a fulfilling life regardless, but when we lose a friend, we're losing an important part of ourselves. One that we can hopefully repair a wound with. We can smack a bandage on there and make it, heal for a moment, but we need people. We need people in our lives. We can't be hermits. We can't just be these mountain-dwelling folk that just go and, hide in the bushes every now and then act like that's life. No, we need people. We need a community. We need a family, a friend group. We need a community of people that care about us. So when we feel like we're not getting the care we need from those people, we explode sometimes, in one way or another. No matter how big the explosion is, whether it's an atomic bomb or a firecracker, it doesn't matter. It's still an explosion and it hurts deeply. It really does. And we don't want any of our friends' feelings to get hurt. We don't want our feelings to get hurt. We don't want to offend anyone. We don't want to make them feel bad. A lot of times when we offend people or say something to them that is hurtful and they voice that opinion, we disagree with their emotion or something. We're not recognizing that their emotions are valid for whatever situation. We can disagree with the reaction. That's where we come into it, right? Our reaction to try to voice our opinion on something is also held up to that same standard, us and them. But the emotions that they feel, they build up for a reason just like ours. Our insecurities are tapped on. The things that we care about are touched on in a really, really severe way. And we can't just ignore that for us or for anyone else. Because when that happens, when our emotions are put to this little, when they're just stomped on, really, there is this sort of fire that really starts to burn, especially when it's repeated, when we feel offended so many times. And there is a verse in Proverbs, Proverbs 18, verse 19 through 21, that I think really fits here, and I just want to say it. It goes like, an offended brother is more unyielding than a fortified city, and disputes are like the barred gates of a citadel. From the fruit of his mouth a man's stomach is filled. With the harvest from his lips he is satisfied. The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit. What I really want to highlight is verse 19. An offended brother is more unyielding than a fortified city, and disputes are like the barred gates of a citadel. Understanding how much a friend or anyone like that you're close to, how much their emotions being built up in a negative way by the actions of another person that they care about affects them. It is like this unyielding, burning fire, because care is supposed to feel good. You know, the friendships we have, they're supposed to feel good. We're not supposed to get our needs neglected in a friendship. We put ourselves in this vulnerable spot, this exposed situation and circumstance with a person that we trust ourselves to, only to get that stomped on, or maybe we start to do that to them. Those emotions that build up from a wrongdoing that is supposed to be in a realm of righteousness, a realm of good things, good virtue, that contradiction or whatever, that violation really, it really builds up a hatred and a fire, whatever you want to call it, that can be so destructive, that engulfs an entire room, that engulfs an entire community, depending on who's involved, depending on how many people are involved. That's tough. Because there's no way to get through it other than acknowledging it. And if, for example, like for me, like I said, I've been in friendships where I didn't feel like I could be vulnerable. And that builds up that continuous sort of bottling of those emotions. You know, they get put into the bottle until the bottle can't hold it anymore, and it shatters, and all of the ghosts and demons of the world come out. That right there is constant in many aspects of my life. Sometimes and many times now I break through that barrier. I break through because I have to, you know? But many times I'm hesitant and sometimes even don't break through that barrier. That makes it so my needs and my emotions are neglected by people who are not trying to hurt me, but are hurting me nonetheless. And then eventually, if I keep doing that, all of a sudden, I blow up. All of a sudden, all of the needs that I felt like I had to get touched on, in fact, I did have to get touched on, they seem to be put to the back burner in the eyes of that other person now because I just insulted them, or I just said something terrible to them, or in the past even, I fought them, or I threatened them, you know? And then all of a sudden, your needs don't seem to matter. In fact, you seem like the bad guy. You seem like the kid, the guy, whoever, the girl who was in trouble because they messed up. And that there was no real reason. They just overreacted. They're crazy. They're psycho. And that's a gray area that is hard to get out of. Because you're not right and you're not wrong. Your reaction was wrong, but your emotions were right. And so you're in a gray area. To understand those two extremes. You know, if you're talking to a friend that you deserve to be heard and that your friend can't stomp on your needs and stomp on what you need to be heard with, but you can't react in a way that causes harm to them, that dialectic right there, it's so unbelievably difficult for me personally as well to try to pin down. You know, you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. You really are. And if you try to break through either one, your bones are going to shatter because it's a rock and a hard place. And trying to find that road between them, trying to find that delicate path between two sides of the coin that are very, very scary is scary. And that fear, without faith to get through it, is a really tough thing to push through. And now, in my life, friendships have meant a lot to me because I've never wanted to be alone. I've never wanted to be alone in my life, and I've spent a lot of my life alone, so nowadays when I make friends and I keep them, I really care about holding on to it. You know, there's this attachment that forms that makes me say, this is great for me. I don't have to feel alone in my bedroom upstairs like I was as a kid, just playing video games all day, feeling uncomfortable with the world around me. I can be in any situation with people who care about me because that clique, that tight-knitted community, it's supportive of my needs, of just the fun that I want to have. It's everything. But with that can come fear. So if my needs have been stomped on or something, if I feel like I'm building up an emotion, that fear pops up. The same fear that lost friends in the past. Same fear that caused me to stoop to my lowest levels. And naturally, I become terrified when I have to address a problem that I have with someone. And I think many of us can go through that. We don't want to hurt the feelings of a person any more than we want our feelings to be hurt. And that's a fact. That's a fact. That's why we hold it in. That's why we bottle up all of the emotion for the sake of their safety and the sake of our friendship. Unfortunately, tricking ourselves into believing that blowing up won't be the main thing that tears it apart. As if blowing up isn't the thing that is truly what you're avoiding. We know it is. We know we're avoiding that. We 100% know that. But in that bottling up of resentment and hatred, we start to disregard that part in a way, unconsciously, I feel. And all of a sudden, we're making decisions that support that buildup. We're not setting boundaries. We're not communicating effectively in our skills. We're not trying to find ways to be heard. We're just taking the pain. We're resorting back to the ways we once did, where all of our needs, all of our things that we tried to, have addressed by people through unhealthy mechanisms, instead of finding healthy mechanisms, we just decided to zip our mouth and stay quiet. Eventually, all that pressure building up in that heart of yours explodes out of your mouth. Who cares what lock you put on your mouth? It's out. And it's ugly, unfortunately. And then hatred to ourselves comes in. And through us not being able to voice our opinion, to respect the needs that we have, we violated all of them on our own. Now, truly, we feel bad. Truly, we feel like we can't get anything done. Truly, we feel like we are just, for lack of a better term, or exactly the term that you need today, monsters. I felt that myself. Feeling like the attempts to get my needs met, to feel like all the things in the world that I ever wanted and needed, the things that were valid, trying to get them, would make me turn into a monster. Because I was too scared to try to find a way to get those things met healthily. Understand that whether it's you or whether it's someone who you're friends with, we have emotions. These very deep-rooted emotions from a life of pain and triumph. And those emotions keep bottling up if they're not addressed. And not only that, all of them are valid. They're all valid. Doesn't mean they're okay with the reaction. We know that. We know that when we swear and cuss at someone, it's not okay. We know that. But we also know, in one way or another, that the feelings we have, that pain that festers within us so much, that is valid because it came from somewhere. Whether my perception on the issue was skewed or not, the emotions came from somewhere. And if I can't address them through a proper means by just saying how I feel, by telling someone, in the car, my friend in the car saying, when this happens, not being accusatory, when this happens, I feel like this thing. And this is why I think it happens. And if there's anything I can do to work with you so that we can try to not make this feeling pop up, I would really appreciate it. Is there anything you need me to do? Right there. A healthy mechanism of action. But without doing that, it's just pain. It's just pain getting put on you every single time from a person that you love, from a person who's supposed to make you feel good, make you feel like life is even better, that you're devoting your time to that person because you care about them and they care about you. You don't want that time being wasted, or even worse, that time being misused. Misused in a way that causes so much pain. You don't want that at all, for you or for them. So understand this for them as well. If someone does that for you, if someone addresses their needs, tries to stick up for themselves, to understand and make you understand the pain that they go through, hear them out. Use the classic Lord's commandment, part of it, to love your neighbor as yourself, to treat others the way you want to be treated. Use that empathy brain of yours. I know you got it in there. Use that. And know that there is pain in every single ounce of anger that you find in a person or yourself. Pain that needs to be respected. Pain that is real. Not a joke. Not just from some craziness. But from a love. A flawed love. But a love. And you want to have love with your friends. You want to love your friends. You want to laugh and frolic in the meadows. You want to do all that stuff. You want to go and hold hands, whatever you want to do. I don't care. I don't judge. Do whatever you want. Make sure that your friendship is good, right? Yes. Now, there's going to be ugliness. There's going to be ugliness. There's going to be the grossest moments in the world. You're going to be just filled with that disgusting feeling in those moments where things have to be addressed. But all of a sudden, you notice that the growth that comes from it is so unbelievably powerful, so beautiful, mwah, so good. That's good. That's what's powerful. That's what's worth it. That growth, that progression, development, all of it's worth far more than any good feeling, quote unquote, by avoiding the pain. It's not good feelings. It's just not bad for the moment. But it will be. Oh, it will be. But that's not the point. The point right now is getting those feelings onto the table and allowing that person to say, wow, I can see it now. And you'll be like, right? And be like, That's what it's about. That's what it's about. Just that communication. Now, if you are a Christian like me, don't just hear these words and go act. Pray on them. Read about them in the scripture, find real ways to process this. There's plenty of good stuff in the Bible about this. I recommend the book of Job, just the entire book. Just read it. Just go read it. It's fine. But talk to God first. It's basically about the similar thing. I made a video yesterday kind of talking about it. Addressing people, not being accusatory or being forceful in how you view people and dealing with problems, specifically friends. And in that one, it was family, but with friends in that moment. And just having that understanding of what people need through an empathy that and I know you got. And there's a lot of stuff in this book. And to pray on that is a good thing. I'll pray on it now. Dear Father, thank you for hearing this prayer today. And thank you for allowing my voice to be put into this video so that anyone who hears it might be able to find some help and so that I can help myself by getting through these deep problems with friends or with family. Dear Father, please allow us to have empathy and allow for understanding of the needs and emotions of people around us so that we can be better in each moment, so that our friendships can be strengthened through a heart that is tuned into by a Father who loves us so much. Father, thank you for giving me hope and faith that I can construct better relations with the people I care about, and so I can make them feel good, to love my neighbor as myself, and through prayer love you, God. Father, I thank you for each moment that I can give any sort of grace to the people I love, and I thank you for allowing my voice to be heard. Thank you for hearing this prayer once again, and please guide me and anyone watching this podcast into a better day and into better friendships in the future. Amen. If this was useful for you at all, I'm glad to hear it. Thank you for watching. I think it's a very important thing to remember that each need that you have must be treated as a need, and that the people around you, they want to hear that. First and foremost, they want to hear what you think. Some of them are awkward about it, like, ooh, they're cringing up, like, ooh, but they care. They do. And don't be afraid to address it. Don't be afraid to address anything, but just find a healthy mechanism, a healthy means of addressing it. That's all for today. See ya!